This is the 19th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, Aftco, Pro Guide Batteries, X-Zone Lures, Shoreline Boat and RV Repair, Spro, Gamakatsu, Big Bite Baits, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. We got a little bit of a unique show today. I am currently at Wheeler Lake practicing for the fourth Bassmaster EQ of the 2023 season. TVAs have not been particularly kind to me, so hopefully I'm turning things around here on Wheeler. But we got an interesting show for today. We have Trevor Lowe and Luke Lowy from Omnia Fishing that are going to jump on. And if you remember, a couple times this year, we've taken advantage of Omnia jumping on board with BTL in the 2023 season to kind of break down some of the baits for each segment of the season as we work into the middle part of May now. The Bassmaster Elite Series on in Alabama on Lay Lake will be completed. We're filming that as practice is taking place for Lay Lake, but we do have two Elite Series and a BPT heavy hitters where some interesting lures and techniques and tactics were brought into play. So we are going to head to Minnesota to the Omnia Fishing headquarters and bring in Trevor and Luke. Guys, thanks for jumping on BTL and breaking down some of the tactics and lures that got the job done for the tune of over $300,000 over the past month on the Elite Series and the BPT.
Oh yeah, no, we appreciate you having us on all the time, and we're happy to do it. So thanks.
Man, you guys have a setup there. Look at that. You got the arms, you got everything. We got a pile of baits to go over.
We're ready.
Luke, I met you at the St. Jude Bass Classic that I've talked about for the past couple months last year. One of the coolest events. Is that an event that you look forward to every year as well?
I was the same as you last year. It was my first year fishing it, but fishing it again this coming year. It got postponed, but we'll see you in the fall.
Have you ever seen an event that is so well run, especially a charity event? I mean, that thing from the time that they take off to the time that you check in with the dinner, with everything, that is a top-notch event.
No, yeah, that's definitely the best event that I've ever been a part of and most well run. Just from the breakfast in the morning, the takeoff is the whole event itself, and the way in, it's pretty awesome.
All right, Polish Pete is off taking care of business. We've had Trevor on before. Are you the marketing and pro staff director for Omnia, and you also handle a bunch on the backside, making sure all the reports and ambassadors and all that, like you handle a bunch of stuff over there.
Yeah, that's kind of my role here. Regional expansion is another one, customer acquisition in specific target regions, but yeah, ambassador program, affiliates, kind of all over the board. As a startup, we wear a lot of hats. So yeah, it's a good time though.
And if you're listening to this and you want to become an ambassador, someone who is providing valuable content to Omnia through fishing reports where you can actually earn like percentages back on your purchases, what's the best way to do that? Because I got into that. Like you had me to submit some, and then I started looking and realized you had those from all over the country.
Yeah, so we have our ambassador program, which is you can find it on our site, omniafishing.com. Go there, sign up. It's free. There's different tiers, different levels to the ambassador program, and as you work your way up filing fishing reports, we offer you more and more benefits with each level.
Good stuff. And then Luke, what is your role at Omnia?
I manage the social media accounts and just do a lot of video editing and production for just some videos that we put on the site, as well as just our social accounts.
Nice. And then you also played ball at Minnesota, right?
Yep. I played there 1 year it'd be 2 years now. So, yeah, played at Minnesota.
Basketball.
Yep.
In the Big Ten.
Yep.
That had to be exciting. Did you have anybody while you were on the team that found out that you like to fish and was like, dude, I'm on a muskie bite, like roll with me, let's catch some freaking big ones? Or was that before the NIL to where you couldn't even go fishing with anybody?
That was like right at the beginning. There was a couple fans that found out and like took me out and wanted to fish with me, but there were some guys on my team too that were interested that I got on the ice one time, which was pretty fun. So it was cool taking guys fishing that had never fished.
Because I always see, like, you know, I'm a big OU fan. Went to University of Oklahoma, graduated from there, and you always see these guys. Now, Brad Hallman's got me into the recruiting of the high school kids and stuff, and I'm always like, man, we got to start using the fisheries that are available in the area to get these kids to come to OU. Like, hey, you can come play at the Palace on the Prairie, the house that Bud built, and you can go down to Arbuckle and catch 8 to 10 pounders off the beds during the spring. We can get you hooked up with all that thing. Like, why would you want to go somewhere where like your max fish is a 4-pound northern strain when you could come down to Oklahoma and smash them and win championships?
Yeah, it's rare to have a basketball recruit be interested in stuff like that, but it happens sometimes. That's actually what a small reason that got me out to William and Mary. That's where I went to that's what I did my undergrad at in Virginia. In Williamsburg, and the fishing was unbelievable out there. So,
dude, I just got back from the Bugs Island Open, and I've spent some time on the Chickahominy River, on the James River, and this was down on the North Carolina border. But I am a firm believer now, after having spent basically a month fishing Virginia waters. Virginia is one of the most underrated state. It is the most, I will say it right now. I will say Virginia is the most underrated state when it comes to diversity and quality of bass in the entire country. They get no respect. It doesn't seem like very much, but dude, every time I've been out there, I've been massively impressed with the facilities, the people, the fans, the quality of fish, the size of the fish, the number of fish, the diversity of the fishery. It's a freaking great lake to catch bass in.
100%. Yep. Lake Chickahominy, which is the end of the river there. That's where I did all my damage in college. It's like 30 minutes from campus. So,
and you fish for Minnesota as well.
Yep. The final spring of my career, once basketball is over, I fished for the U of M.
Okay. So you're both U of M graduates and alumni of the fishing program.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. Is there anyone besides Felix that's on the national tour now that went to Minnesota?
I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, just Austin. And I mean, he had success in obviously the FLW side of the college series when FLW was a thing. But yeah, the Elite Series, he's definitely doing all right there too.
Yeah. All right, Trevor, what else do we have going on at Omnia Fishing? Is the BTL code still live? I should have checked with that before the show. I think I've got a banner for it. I'm horrible at codes. That is the worst thing that I'm bad at. I have a code for it. Omnia Fishing /BTL. If it's your first purchase with Omnia, you can use code BTL23 for 15% off your first purchase. And you can like literally go in and then you can like use your, what do you call them? Shopping buddies? What is that called where you can like use if you want some help on a lake that you're going to?
We have a feature we call Shop by Lake. So essentially, you can go and look at a specific body of water. Let's just say Bugs Island, for example. If you've never fished there before, you can go to the lake page for Bugs Island, read up on fishing reports that are filed there, and then see what techniques, what baits are popular. You can add those to cart right from that page in our site. So. And then we also have personal shoppers. If you need help, we have like a live chat that, some of our team here will kind of help walk you through what they recommend as well. So if that's something you need help with, we can help with that.
And then premium members, you're still working on optimizing and updating the lake temperature maps specific for what lake you want to go to. So if you want to see where it's colder, where it's warmer in your region, really cool deal. I'll be using it at Wheeler Lake to see possibly where I could find a shad spawn, where I could find some late spawners as I head there next week. Yeah,
that's it's still currently in the beta testing phase, but it's made available to our premium subscribers right now. So as you alluded to, that's temp layers, and that's through satellite imaging, and I think we've got over 5,000 lakes of coverage across the United States. So most of your premier destination fisheries will have coverage on that. It might be a little spotty, but nonetheless, it's another tool that you can add to your arsenal to help you break down a lake and find fish better.
All right. Speaking of breaking down, we're going to break down 3 major events that went down over the past month. We're going to kick things off with Red Crest on Caney Creek and Bussy Break. I think I'm saying that right. I always get it wrong.
I think it was Heavy Hitters.
Yeah, it was Heavy Hitters. The MLF BPT Heavy Hitters, won by Alton Jones, keeping the Joneses streak of heavy hitter championships alive. It was I saw a picture there of Alton and then Alton Jr. standing next to each other with the belts. And I mentioned this in a previous BTL, but I couldn't help but smile. I was doing some Bugs Island research on YouTube, and Lynn Dollar. If either of you guys checked out Lynn Dollar's YouTube channel.
I've heard that name, but
how old are you, Trevor?
28.
And how old are you, Luke?
24.
Okay. I got it over a decade on you guys. You guys need to go to Lynn Dollar. It has almost all of the FLW and the Bassmaster videos, the full TV videos from like the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. It's really cool stuff.
Yeah,
because
I'm sure I've stumbled upon that
hours
channel.
Of entertainment there if you're a fishing dork like me. But anyway, one of them that I was watching, Alton, was a young, spry lad, and he was up there, and Alton Jr. couldn't even see. He had his kids up there, couldn't even see over the weigh-in table. He was like 7 years old, and Fishburne was interviewing Alton Jr. And now here he is. He's won 2 in the past 3 years. But when we had Pete on before, I think our main topic of discussion was the what are we calling it now? Fuzzy dice is not the correct. It's called the dice. What's it called?
Dice rubber.
Dice rubber.
Yeah.
And that was kind of all the rage. And since then, I've seen it going for absolute insane amounts of weren't you saying you saw it for like $40 a pack of the dice rubber?
Yeah, there's a local shop here in the Twin Cities metro, and I think they specialize in JDM stuff, and they brought it over, and they've got it for like $40 a bag, which is, I'm
sure, like every tournament now where there's like 3 or 4 of these guys that use the JDM stuff, Pete's like, oh, this is going to be a lot more work for me trying to get this onto the Omnia store after every single week. I mean, is that a thing that, because I know you guys have like the board where you're watching what's going on and everything.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's JDM products they're challenging in the sense that, you know, when people see anglers having success with it on, you know, the pro tour, they get super hyped up for it. But the supply chain in terms of getting it is just kind of challenging. So that's definitely something Pete has to juggle as the head of merchandising here.
All right. The G Crack Bellows Gill and Bellows Shad, that is a JDM product. Is that a JDM product as well?
I mean, G Crack, yeah, I guess you could call it JDM. I think it's becoming more and more common here in the United States, but yeah, I would say so.
I've talked with Alton Jr. about this on BTL before, but this is $100,000 winning bait now. He was using both the gill and the shad during his victory, and you guys have a couple packs of each. Talk a little bit about those baits and kind of what makes them unique. It's definitely an out-of-the-box bait for traditional bass fishing.
Yeah, I mean, the gill is a little bit thicker and wider than the shad, but they got these, I don't know, how would you describe that?
There's like a core to them with ribs. Yeah. So if you look at the profile of the bait, it's a bluegill or a shad profile. And the cool thing about them is they can be rigged either horizontally or vertically, depending on the action that you want, like the gliding action. So he was rigging one vertically. I think we have a spinner bait there that he was using. He did not name the brand of the spinner bait, but it was a white spinner bait, as Trevor holds it up there. Gold Colorado kicker, white spinner bait, silver willow leaf on it. And then he was rigging the Bellows shad vertically on it.
Yeah, and I mean that's definitely what it looked like. Obviously, I don't think we had the white color of the Bellow shad in stock, but that's the gist of what it was. And to your point, you know, he didn't mention what particular brand spinner bait, but I believe it was a gold Colorado blade and then a silver willow.
And he was flipping the willow trees as well. And he says in his article, he said the bulk of that trailer on the bellow shad allowed him to reel the bait slower and
Sure.
keep it in the strike zone. So typically from what we've seen with smaller spinnerbait trailers, and he absolutely decimated the field. He had like 80 pounds on the final day, and the next closest was 20. So obviously the G-Crack bellows gill and then the bellow shad. Now the difference, do you have the gills and the shads there? What's the difference between the two of the shad and the gill?
Yeah, it looks like the gill is just a bigger profile. Those ribs are a little bit longer and appendagier, if that's even a word. The shad seems more like a streamlined profile, probably better on a chatterbait trailer, spinnerbait as a trailer, whereas the bellows gill might have too bulky of a profile to do that. I know that it's a pretty heavy bait on its own. So guys up here will fish it weightless, kind of like you would a Senko, Texapose and everything like that. So I think that's probably the main difference, but similar action, a lot of kind of whippy tail action as you're retrieving it. And especially if you're throwing off some sort of a vibration with a spinner bait or a chatterbait, that's just going to add to the action.
All right, awesome. Let me bring this up on the screen here. Share screen, Windows. There it is right there. So obviously right now they're out of stock. At Omnia, you have a couple packs of some key colors.
Right. And I think that's accurate in the sense that, when a big time tournament is won on a specific bait, we see sales, come in really, really fast on these particular products. And it's just a matter of, like I said, supply chain and getting those back in stock as they clear out. So, but
you can also do either the notify me when it's back in stock, or you can order it and then it'll ship as soon as it is back in stock, correct?
Yeah. So I don't believe we do shipping, or we don't allow orders to be placed on something out of stock. But if you hit that little notification button to notify you when it gets back in stock, we'll tell you as soon as they're scanned in. And actually, if you're a premium member, we let you know 2 hours in advance. So
okay. And there are a lot of the bellow gills colors that are in stock. I've personally seen these baits. They're wild looking, man. I mean, they're not as wild looking as the dice rubber, but they're definitely a bait that has gotten my attention and has won over $250,000 over the last couple years. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a good bait. I personally throw it quite a bit up here in these natural lakes around grass and fishing it weedless and weightless as well. But they do have a good scent to them as well, which is something worth. Do they do the squid scent, or what does it say on that package as their scent?
I don't remember what
one of them does the squid scent. I mean, is that the Kitech?
Yeah, that's the Kitech.
Yeah, the gill bag is full of. I mean, you can see it's full of scent. I don't know if you can see it on camera.
Yeah, it's juicy.
It's juiced up in there. So
yeah, it reminds me of like a pack of ramen. If you ever open up like a cup noodle, it kind of smells like that to me. So
okay. All right, something worth trying. The interesting thing about the rest of the top 10 of heavy hitters is a lot of stick baits and just traditional Texas rig plastics got the job done there. You had Dakota E-Bear, who was throwing just your standard Strike King Ocho. You had Andy Montgomery, who was flipping Z-Craw. You had Randy Howell, who was flipping a Flapping Hog. Josh Bertrand, who was flipping a Pit Boss. Bradley Roy, who was flipping a creature bait as well, and then Brian Thrift with that 9+ pounder. Primarily his deal was a chatterbait with a Demiki 5-inch Demiki armor shad on the back, and the rest of the guys were just flipping there. So unique bait wins heavy hitters. Pretty standard fare for that part of the country for the rest of them. Anything else on heavy hitters that stuck out to you guys bait wise?
I think so.
No, not really. I think Alton blew away the field, which is crazy. So
he did.
Generally, it's closer than that.
Then we moved over to Lake Murray, which when you get to the blueback herrings, the third stop of the Elite Series season, you're talking a very interesting tournament here. We had fish on beds. We had some post spawn fish. We had a little bit of a shad spawn, some herring chasers, a number of different baits. Drew Benton wins that the first several days, primarily bed fishing, and then moving to a wake bait and a Bagley's Pro Sunny B as the tournament went on. He also flipped a fighting frog in that win. Do you guys have a fighting frog there?
Yeah, I think one of the specific colors is Tilapia Magic that a lot of the guys like. So
yep, Tilapia Magic. He was also flipping a watermelon red, green pumpkin laminate in the fighting frog, which is some of the new, a number of different colors in the fighting frog, but a lot of questions about why that fighting frog from Big Bite, regardless of whether you're sponsored by Big Bite or not, is used. And it is if you could hold that bait up, Trevor, and then show, if you get it close to, just kind of move that thing around and show how there's different cuts all throughout that bait, like on the side. There's a cut on the side of the bait, and then there's a tab on the back. The back of the bait has a slit in it. That bait is designed to collapse on the hook set. So you can put either a flipping hook in it, or it was designed by Rojas around a number 4 EWG Superline Gamakatsu to have very little plastic between the bait to be able to still rig it Texas and weedless. Very little plastic between the bait and the hook point. So when you set the hook, everything collapses and moves out of the way. And I think you see Drew Cook, Drew Benton, Rojas, obviously some of the best sight fishermen in the world really rely on that fighting frog when it comes to bed fishing.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point there, that's it's definitely one of the best bed fishing baits out right now. You know, most everybody's throwing it when they're sight fishing, and yeah, it's when you have fish that are picking baits off of the bed, you know, potentially if you have an exposed hook, they'll just grab the back end of it. So when you can texapose a bait like this so that they don't feel that hook point, then have a really good hookup ratio with a thin piece of plastic, that's definitely going to help your chances of landing more fish.
Good stuff. There's the fighting frog. Also, some of the more memorable catches that I remember from the Lake Murray event was Hunter Shryock with the Chapo. Obviously the rage. Remember what Chris Lane did with that thing on Toledo Bend, what James Watson did back in 15 in the fall on Table Rock when we first saw the introduction really on a national stage of a river to sea whopper plopper. Berkeley's version, the Chapo, hard plastic tail on it, multiple sizes, but some ferocious strikes on Lake Murray up shallow by Hunter Shryock on that Chapo in like a bone color.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was catching them shallow in the shadows, and you know, mixing between the Chapo and the General, he had some pretty insane fish catches, like right at the base of docks.
Yeah, there was one where he just was like around 2 or 3 different dock posts and had like a 6-pounder on with like 8-pound test or something like that, and it was just wild.
It is, and one of the things that I've noticed over the first 3, you know, with eBear flipping in heavy hitters and Shryock wacky rigging, and there's been a lot of different across the board stick baits, whether it's Yamamoto Cinco, a trick stick, a General like you're holding here, a Yum Dinger. A lot of stick baits have played in 2023. It's ironic as we get crazier and crazier with the JDM stuff and more action and big swim baits. A lot of money being put in the bank just with either a Texas rig, Nico or Neko rig, or a wacky rigged weightless in the stick baits, and the General definitely getting the job done there too.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like 5-inch stick baits are going away anytime soon. They still catch fish everywhere, and I think that just proves it.
At Omnia, what do you guys do when an unreleased bait does well? We saw a tournament leader there throwing what are they calling it? The cull shad, the kind of internal rigged system soft swim bait along. We've seen Kennedy, who at Santee caught him on a mag draft. Yep. But like that Berkeley cull shad, we've seen that play in that was played at Red Crest. That played a little bit in that. Mm-hmm. So is that just a deal where you're like, no, you can sell a ton, but you have to wait until that company gets them to you?
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. You know, we have our team here that builds out the pages on our site so that, you know, we're not scrambling once they come in. If we can get images and pages built out as soon as they get checked in, you know, they're live. They go out as soon as soon as we're able to start selling them.
I did think it was interesting at Murray. I expected more of the herring style baits to play, the unique herring style baits. And a lot of these are really hard to get the hands on. The only one that really stuck out to me was Kenta Kimura, who threw that Lucky Craft Wander. And there's a picture of that, just a really unique style, kind of a mix between a topwater walking bait, a jerk bait, and a wake bait. But if you are familiar with the herring baits around that Hartwell, Murray, Clarks Hill area, that Lucky Craft Wander typically gets the job done. And then you also had your standard shaky heads and flukes and Jason Williamson. And I think Bernie Schultz also threw an actual whopper plopper in the powder cover, in the powder color. So pretty standard for Lake Murray. All right, then we moved on back-to-back weeks to Santee Cooper. And heading to Santee Cooper, we really didn't know what was going to go down there because it was a weird time of year. The bite was really good for some guys and really bad for others. In the end, Luke Palmer with one of the most dominating victories that I can recall in Elite Series history. I think he had about 96 pounds of fish, live scoping them off of cypress trees, primarily just with two main baits, the Yum Woolly Bug and the Yum Bad Mama. There's a picture of those two in that.
Yeah, to your point there, in dominating fashion for sure. Looking at the leaderboard, I think the top 10 was separated by like 40 pounds, which is just crazy to think about. So
the most thing that stuck out to me was the comeback that Mark Menendez had, primarily on the Strike King Cutter Worm. And you can look at the Strike King Cutter Worm as another Cinco style bait, but pull one of those cutter worms out there if you can, Trevor. And I'm really interested in some of the vibrating action. It's really a stick style bait, but it offers a lot of vibration in that tail.
Yeah, it's a really big tail, tons of action, and you have to detach it from the body here. But we'll leave this one attached for.
Yeah, that's got to go back in. Got to go back in the pack. But just reeling that, you can fish that like a Texas rig. You can fish it on a Carolina rig. You can put a small weight in front of it and reel it straight in like a spinner bait or a chatterbait. A bunch of different stuff that you can do with the Rage Cutter Worm for Mark Menendez to have a top finish there at Santee Cooper. And then also always a big fan of anglers catching them on baits that they designed. Drew Cook with an example of that. And I don't know if you can open up those packages, but he designed, it's called the Quarantine Craw.
Yep.
And he had a top 10 finish on the Quarantine Craw, which is basically a small 4-inch Cinco, but it's got the fighting frog appendages coming off of the bottom of the Cinco. So it can be fished more like a Ned. He was fishing it in and around the trees and also on sight fishing on there as some of the unique baits. But we saw some plugs play. We saw the fighting frogs play again. Brandon Cobb was using a wacky rigged Zoom fluke stick. And then in some of the cases, he was cutting the little tail off of the fluke stick to make it just a straight stick bait and skipping it around. And then I also thought this was interesting. Brandon Polinick, he signs with Mega Bass, and I had not seen this Mega Bass jerkbait before, but that is the
Kanata.
You know anything about that bait?
It's just it's a beefed up jerk bait. You're throwing it on bigger tackle. It's not your typical light line jerk baiting, I guess. But yeah, big profile, hopefully eliciting big strikes, big fish. So yeah, pretty cool to see that play rather than just your standard Vision 110.
And then Steve Kennedy was chucking around the Mega Bass mag draft.
Oh yeah.
Hard to beat that this time of the year, especially when you're dealing with a shad spawn, a bluegill spawn, big bass.
Yeah, it's just it's a bait that's catching fish everywhere right now, and it seems like everybody's throwing them. Everybody is finding success in throwing them, and it's a super easy bait to throw. I mean, you tie it on, you cast it out there, you can skip them, everything, and you just wind it back.
When it comes to that 6-inch mag draft at Omnia, is that one of the most popular, what you would consider bigger baits? I mean, I would imagine that the sales on that would have to be steadily improving, especially since it seems like every year there's been top 10s where someone's been like, dude, I was just chucking a mag draft around.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. We're constantly having to put in reorders for Megabass as quick as we can, because I mean it's selling, and Luke can kind of talk to just the amount of engagement you get if you do anything mag draft related on social.
Yeah, people love to have an opinion about the mag draft and some of the other baits that are being designed around it. But yeah, like Trevor said, it flies off the shelves here, and we just got some new colors too, which is exciting. I mean, another version of a white mag draft, which there was 2 out and people were buying those out like crazy. So now there's another one. So that's exciting for sure.
Yeah, I think they just came out with 3 new colors. So, but that's kind of a wrap up. Like I said, some interesting baits in each one. Some baits that the guys designed. Some Japanese baits. There was at Lake Murray. We have to end with this one.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get down to.
Gotta talk about it.
Yeah, this is another one that.
Kioya.
That Polish Pete is probably. You're saying it Keto Fujita?
Kioya.
Kioya?
I think that's the way to pronounce it, but
I should. All right. This is the Jackal Drift Crab Mini. Now, if you were carrying this thing in stock beforehand, then you're either live on the coast or are
right.
Nostradamus, but this thing is going to be hard. Like, do you think this stuff is going to start move? Like, that's what he used to finish in the top 10. That it's just someone describe that for me.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like a mix of a crab with it looks kind of like spiderish too, which is
it's like a mix between a spider and a crab, a weightless deal. He is throwing that on the deal, so he is going to continue to befuddle tackle manufacturers for years to come.
I'm convinced, honestly, that he could tie whatever he wants on and put it on a hook and convince the world to buy it at this point. I mean, he's been having a stellar year. The guys that fish the opens know about him and know that he's just been dominant on the opens, and we knew that he was going to do well in the Elite Series, but to have the amount of influence in terms of sending people to the stores, to the websites to make these purchases and buy stuff from Japan and pay for international shipping and wait 30 days for shipping is it's pretty incredible to see.
Yeah, and then I would have no idea how to fish it once I got my hands on it. So, all right, guys, did I leave anything out? Anything key out over the last 3? Just I said I wanted to jump on here and do a recap. We will do a recap also after probably sometime, it's May, probably sometime at the end of July, we'll start getting into some smallmouth baits, some northern baits, maybe some spy baits, maybe some unique. I can't wait to see what the Japanese guys pull out up north, because we've got some new ones. I think it's going to get pretty Western.
It's those guys, they definitely know how to catch smallmouth too, and you put a spinning rod in their hands, they'll figure out how to throw air on it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, BTL special edition bait breakdown with Trevor and Luke from Omnia. Like I said, go to omniafishing.com. You can check all this stuff out. omniafishing.com/BTL. How much percent off is it the first purchase?
I think it's 15%.
15% off your first purchase with it. So, all right, guys, thanks for jumping on BTL. I greatly appreciate it. You can go put that stuff back on the shelves now. I don't think we ruined any of it. We didn't have to open up any packs that required opening. So.
Correct. Cool. Thanks, Panger. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, wrapping things up. We'll be back on Thursday with the man Frank Scalish with another day 4. Until then, everybody, stay tuned.